Welcome back to the podcast. Podcast. Excuse me. My voice kind of went out. Anyway, so this week we are talking about Abraham once again. We left off last week with kind of the question of how could Abraham be righteous if there was no requirements, no law, no Ten Commandments that he was under. So where we left off in our Bible passage in the study of going through Romans is we left off in verse 9, where it talks about Abraham. Paul used Abraham and David, the kind of like the pillars in the Jewish nation. He used these two people to establish this fact that both of them believed that God was not holding their sin against them. And it's so vital that we believe that same thing, that God is not holding our sin against us. So let's look in Romans chapter 4, verse 10. It says, How then was it accounted? While he was circumcised or uncircumcised? Not while he was circumcised, but while he was uncircumcised. For he, this is talking about Abraham, for Abraham received the sign of circumcision, a seal of the righteousness of the faith which he had while still being uncircumcised, that he might be the father of all those who believe, though they are uncircumcised, that the righteousness might be imputed to them also, and also the father of the circumcision, to those who are not of the circumcision, but who walk in the steps of faith, which our father Abraham had while still being uncircumcised. So good grief, that's a lot of that's a lot of words, and anytime you use the word circumcised in a sentence, it just kind of throws you off. So let's slow down and let's look at this. Let's dissect this a little bit. Abraham received this covenant with God, covenant from God about circumcision, and this was unique to the Jewish people, to the Israelis, or Hebrews, however you want to call them, refer to them. So, and this is something that is it's very unique, and it's kind of difficult to talk about because of what it is. But this was something that God gave Abraham, and it was only found in the Jewish nation, and it was something that set them apart from everybody else, because it just makes your anatomy different. So here's the thing, is that Paul is establishing this fact that God saw Abraham as righteous before he was given this covenant or this seal of circumcision. And the reason why that is of importance is because the Jewish people, their heritage goes back to Abraham, and this whole covenant of circumcision, like I said, it was unique to them, and so they would circumcise the male child on the 8th day. Probably most of you have heard of that. But how this is unique is that Paul is making the argument that he's like, guys, I know that we have this covenant of circumcision, and that's what makes us different. He's like, but before God gave this to Abraham, God saw him as righteous. And so it's unique for us, and how it kind of relates to us is before there's any like physical sign in your life, like, you need to know that God sees you as righteous. Does that make sense? Like, this is so big, and it's like, if you can get this in your mind, this will set you free. This is the key. This is the seed that'll set you free. That God sees you as righteous before there is ever any sign, physical sign, that you are in covenant with Him. So here's probably the other side of that. Like once you know that God sees you as righteous, there will be things in your life that happen. Like I'm talking about physical things that are tangible. There are changes that happen to us. And I'm just talking about our behavior will change, and not to make us righteous, but it's the fact that we know that God sees us as righteous, so it produces within us a change that sets us apart from everybody else. So, but here's the thing, and here's why I believe that God used Paul with this argument, and the argument about circumcision. It's like this, this is the thing. It's like you do not go around like showing people this, like, you know. Hopefully, we're all adults here. It's like you don't go around showing somebody that you're circumcised or that you're not. Like it's not. It's just not for anybody else to see. But it's like, I know I'm kind of getting out there, but it's like it's just like we go to the bathroom every day, like especially if you're a guy, like all of us guys go to the bathroom every day, and it's a reminder every day, like it would be a reminder for the Jewish people, like you're in covenant with God, like He's with you all the time, even in that time, you know. But here's the thing: it's like this was not something that they would broadcast to everybody. And just like it is with us, like once we know that God sees us as righteous, when I'm talking about like the changes that take place in our lives, it's not for us to showcase these, to like put badges and pins on our shirts and say, I've been a Christian this long, and I do this, and I serve here, and I read this, and I don't say that. It's like you are missing it. This is like an intimate thing. This is something that's only shared in intimacy. That's the only way you know about it. And it's not something that you just broadcast to everybody. So here's the thing. As we look at these scriptures, what I'm really trying to do is to establish this fact that I know we started off in chapter 5. Kind of this is a long series. I don't know if it will ever end, but this is a long series. So we started off in chapter 5 where we talked about where we said, therefore, we are, having been justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ. That's chapter 5, verse 1. And so I'm going back and establishing this fact that we have been justified by faith, or we have been made righteous by what we believe. That word faith and belief, they are synonymous, as well as justified and righteous. They mean the same things. So you are made righteous by what you believe. And so I'm going back and I'm establishing this, and I'm using the scriptures that Paul wrote for us so that we would be establishing this fact. And we're going back and we're starting with Abraham because he's the beginning. He's the father of our faith. And that's what these verses are here in, verses 10 through 14. He's talking about this circumcision. And like how I explained it to you, I hope that really makes sense, and something that will set you free, from all of this. That God saw Abraham righteous before there was any physical change. And God sees you as righteous before there is a physical change. Before you start acting like you know that you're righteous, before you start, before your behavior changes, and I'm talking about this effortless change, like before anybody else can see a physical change in your life, you need to know that God sees you as righteous. So that's like the main point. So let's move on. Verse 13, it says, "For the promise that he would be the heir of the world was not to Abraham or to his seed through the law, but through the righteousness of faith." And we talked about that last week, that Abraham lived before the Ten Commandments. And you and I live in a time after the Ten Commandments. There was only about 1,500 years in all of creation where the Ten Commandments were in effect. And so we are no longer under that. It says, look at this, in verse 14, for if those who are of the law are heirs, faith is made void, and the promise made of no effect, because the law brings about wrath. For where there is no law, there is no transgression.